Chapter 4. The Moon and Other Satellites. You have studied about the Moon in the previous class, that the Moon is the only natural satellite of the Earth because it revolves around the Earth. In this chapter, you will know more about the Moon. The Moon has no light of its own. Unlike the Sun, it is made up of rocks. It shines because it reflects the light of the Sun that falls on it. Distance from the Earth. The Moon is about 384,400 kilometers away from the Earth. It is also much smaller than the Sun, but it appears to be of the same size as that of the Sun. This is so because the Moon is much closer to us than the Sun. Surface of the Moon. The surface of the Moon is rough and uneven. It is covered with craters, big mountains, and valleys. Craters are deep holes that have been made when solid bodies called meteorites crashed into the Moon's surface. The black spots we see on the Moon are the shadows of these craters. The rocks that were brought back to Earth by astronauts tell us that the surface of the Moon is covered with dark gray dust. No life on the Moon. The Moon has no air and water on its surface, which are essential for the existence of life. So, life does not exist on the Moon. The gravity of the Moon is 1/6 of the gravity of the Earth. The side of the Moon facing the Sun is extremely hot, and the side away from the Sun is very cold. Phases of the Moon. We see that the Moon changes its shape every night. Actually, it never changes its shape. The Moon is lit up by the Sun, but as the Moon moves around the Earth, the shape of the lit portion also changes. So, we see different parts of it during the course of its orbit around the Earth. These changing shapes are called the phases of the Moon. New Moon, Day 1. When the side of the Moon facing us gets no sunlight at all, we cannot see the Moon. Crescent Moon, Day 3. As the Moon moves along its orbit, a small portion of the side facing us gets sunlight. Half Moon, Day 7. In a week, we can see half of the Moon. Gibbous Moon, Day 10. After 3 more days, we see 3/4 of the Moon. Full Moon, Day 14. In 2 weeks, the entire side facing us gets sunlight, showing the full Moon. The phases reverse after this. Eclipses. We know that the Earth revolves around the Sun and the Moon revolves around the Earth. When these 3 heavenly bodies come in a straight line, the shadows are formed. These are called eclipses. There are 2 types of eclipses: lunar eclipse and solar eclipse. Lunar eclipse. When the Earth comes between the Sun and the Moon, it blocks the sunlight from reaching the Moon and creates a shadow. This is called lunar eclipse or eclipse of the Moon. The Earth's shadow has 2 parts, one where it totally blocks the sunlight, that is called the umbra, and the other where it blocks a part of the sunlight, called the penumbra. Solar eclipse. Solar eclipse occurs when the Moon comes between the Sun and the Earth. The Moon creates a shadow on the Earth. The people living in this shadow area cannot see the Sun at all. This is called a solar eclipse or eclipse of the Sun. When the Sun is completely hidden by the Moon, it is called a total solar eclipse. When some part of the Sun can be seen, it is called a partial solar eclipse. Man on the Moon. The first spacecraft which successfully landed on the Moon was Apollo 11. It carried 3 American astronauts, Neil Armstrong, Edwin Aldrin, and Michael Collins. On July 21, 1969, Neil Armstrong became the first man to land on the Moon. His words on the Moon were, "That's one small step for man and a giant leap for mankind." He and Edwin Aldrin stayed for 2.5 hours on the Moon and collected some rock samples to bring back to the Earth. These rock samples have given a lot of information about the Moon. The tide. The regular rise and fall of the level of water in the sea caused by the pull of the sun and the moon is called a tide. The water of the seas and oceans on the sides of the earth facing the moon gets attracted upwards and the sea level rises. This is known as high tide. The same happens on the opposite side of the earth because of the earth's movement. So, these areas also experience high tides. In the areas between the two high tides, the water forms a low tide. Thus, a high tide and a low tide occur after every 12 hours. The highest tides occur at the time of the new moon and the full moon. The knowledge of tides is useful to the sailors and the fishermen. When there is a high tide, ships and fishermen can come easily to a port. On the contrary, in low tide, they cannot bring back their ships to the shore because the sea water recedes far away from the shore. On a new moon or full moon, the gravitational pull of the moon and the sun are combined. At these times, the high tides are very high and the low tides are very low. This is known as a spring high tide. Spring tide has nothing to do with the spring season. They occur when the earth, the sun and the moon are in a line. The gravitational forces of the moon and the sun contribute to the tides. Spring tides occur during the full moon and the new moon. Artificial satellites. Scientists have developed certain machines that can be sent into space and made to move around the earth like a natural satellite does. These machines are called artificial satellites. The first artificial satellite was Sputnik 1, launched by Russia on 4 October 1957. Since then, hundreds of artificial satellites have been launched. Aryabhatta, launched in 1975, was the first Indian satellite. The INSAT-3E was launched on 28 September 2003. Satellites are very useful to us. They are of different types. Some are communication satellites, example INSAT-3E, which are used to send telephone conversations and television programs around the world. Weather satellites are used to forecast the weather. You must have seen satellite pictures of clouds over our country shown on TV. Such pictures not only help us forecast the weather, but also give early warning of dangerous storms and cyclones. Some satellites, called remote sensing satellites, take photographs of the Earth to study the features of the Earth's surface. Cartosat-1 is a remote sensing satellite launched by India on 5th May 2005. India launched the world's first educational satellite called EduSat in September 2004. It will be used to send educational programs all over India, even to remote villages. Satellites are also very useful for astronomers because they help them know more about the planets, stars, and other heavenly bodies. Points to remember. The moon is about 384,400 km away from the earth. The surface of the moon is covered with craters, big mountains, and valleys. There is no life on the moon because there is no water and air. The moon appears to change its shape every night. When the sun, the moon, and the earth come in a straight line, there are shadows formed called eclipses. Neil Armstrong was the first man to land on the moon.